And now, a Christmas message from MJ Knight.
Well, it's another Christmas, so therefore it's time for one of my annual traditional end-of-year speeches, reflecting upon this year and what I'm looking forward to in the next year. I'm going to be flat out and just blunt off the bat when I say this. 2014 has been a suck-ass year. When you consider some of the huge names that have sadly left this world this year, ranging from Rick Mail, Robin Williams. That was probably the most tragic of all, because no one knew he was going through those kind of problems. At least I didn't. Such a shame to, someone who was, so talented, so gifted, and had so much love and laughter, more to give to this world than he had already given, and, he's sadly gone. It's just tragic. And then Bob Hoskins, a really, really big legend in the acting world. I mean, I remember watching that guy's performances from Who Framed Roger Rabbit in 1987, I think. And then to him being Mario in Super Mario Bros. Now, personally, that movie was a train wreck, but I liked his portrayal of Mario, a very sort of hardcore, no-nonsense style of Mario. I actually enjoyed that. And the one that really, was a real sour note for me, particularly pertaining to my childhood, was when the sad news had been brought to those who love 80s movies and Ghostbusters in particular, was when we found out that Harold Ramis had sadly left this world. That was a real bitter one to take. I'm going to look at how things have gone in the world of professional wrestling. Now, I'm just going to touch upon the CM Punk situation very briefly, because I've said what I've needed to say on Smackback during the highlights and after the review of this year's Survivor Series, so I'm not going to be repeating myself on anything that that has already been said. But you look at the situation leading up to the 2014 Royal Rumble, even with his physical performance and his physical appearance in the ring, you could tell something was off. And of course, the word was backstage he was unhappy, he was physically wrecked, and he just wanted to go, because he didn't think the product was getting any better, and the product was just repeating tripe from like the last 6 to 7 years or so. It's like, we've seen all this before, guys. But I think the problem stems from the fact that because they have no competition, they therefore don't feel the need to improve, and that's sad. It's like, hey, when your sales and your ratings and your, at the time, before the network, pay-per-view buy rates start dropping, I think you have a reason to be concerned. But I was pleased that Daniel Bryan got his moment at WrestleMania 30 when he won the WWE Undisputed Championship. I'm not calling it the WWE World Heavyweight title because it's been that name before, and the Undisputed title just sounds better to me. But yeah, 2014 has not been a good year for wrestling. I just think the product this year has been lackluster, poor, and undesirable. There's nothing really been that great about it in my estimation. And, it's what led to the G1 crew of RDR calling it a day, because, the way that Raw in particular was with the Authority storyline, which I'm so glad has come to an end, because the Authority angle was just killing it in the ratings. It was just so contrived and watered down from the corporation in 98, 99. Now, not to take anything away from Randy Orton, who seems to be very popular with those RKO vines. The funniest one being the one in space. It's like, that's why he's so white hot at the moment. So people feel like, oh, this is brilliant. But yeah, I mean, not to take anything away from Orton. He's a talented WWE superstar, a multiple-time world champion, but he's not The Rock. He doesn't have the same charisma and magnetism that the People's Champ had during that era. This year, it's seen a bit of a transition with me. as a podcaster, because I'd been, when I'm using wrestling terms here, I'd been a tag team member, or a stable member, group, faction member, call it what you will, for so long that I actually kind of missed being a singles competitor. I always, marched to the beat of my own drum. Like to call things the way I see them. Like to have, my vision the way I want to see it, without having it compromised or, altered to something that I didn't want it to be. And I think I just got to such a point with RDR. I mean, the authority angle was killing my love for wrestling. Particularly when it got to midway through season 7, it's like, look, screw this, I want out. And season 8, I suppose in retrospect, in some regards, season 8 was the right time to go out. And, as much as I, had fun doing that show each week with Oni and Lewis, I want to make this perfectly clear. You guys are not the reason I wanted out. It's just the way the product is. I wanted out because the product was crap, and WWE has hardly changed since WrestleMania 30. Although I still maintain SmackDown's the better show by this much. Now, if we were to take this, say, 10 years ago, I'd say, Raw was the better show. Particularly when you had the likes of Shelton Benjamin, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Randy Orton really starting to come into his own at that time. Raw was the better product, but everything goes in cycles. Late 2002 and early 2003 and most of 2003, SmackDown was the better show because it just was. There's no two ways around that. Whereas now everything's come full circle again. I mean, the 3-hour format that Raw has, it's killing in the ratings, because it's just things in general. The fact, and this is something I've got to get off my chest. I can understand with guest hosts or guest GMs about 6 or 7 years ago, Ted DiBiase Sr. being the guest host. Good decision. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Good decision. Bret the Hitman Hart. Best there was, best there is decision. Although he probably gave that Raw that particular week a 4 out of 10. And, if Shawn Michaels came back to guest host Raw, I'd say, yeah, good decision. But what do Larry the Cable Guy and Grumpy Cat have to do with Monday Night Raw? Now, Grumpy Cat is a huge brand and commodity at the moment. I get that, but what does that have to do with professional wrestling? I mean, has WWE gotten to such a point that they are willing to pander to social media and the internet just to get a cheap laugh and ratings? And the fact that The Miz was interviewing Grumpy Cat, I'm looking thinking, I'm glad I missed out on that particular episode of Raw, because I would have been like, okay, that's it, I'm out here, bye-bye. And then of course we've got the Flintstones movie coming out, and I'm just dreading, the screen caps for that episode. I mean, what are they going to do? Have, the stage for Monday Night Raw looking like Fred Flintstone's house, and having the ring look like it's made out of rock and rubble with palm trees as the ring posts and statue dinos around ringside? I mean, come on, guys. I mean, what are you going to make happen next? Make Michael Cole wear Fred Flintstone's out? Second thought, let's not even go there. That's an image I don't want in my head before the 9 p.m. Ugh. It'd be like, I'm Michael Cole, spelt like C-O-A-L, and be like, really? But yeah, like I say, I enjoyed my time on Raw Down Rebound. It was, a 50-50 collab with me and Oni that lasted nearly 3 years, but, it was having to do all those shows every single week, and it was killing it for me. I I just didn't have any love for it at that point. I mean, when I came back to do Smackback, I felt like I got something back, because it's like, okay, I can do just SmackDown and just tell it the way I want to do it, and I can actually use visuals. You know, like I'm using the green screen behind me with the snow falling. Aren't I festive? But no, I'm, you know, like I said, as much as I enjoyed being part of a stable, a faction, a group, I'm just glad to be a singles competitor again, just to go out and find out if I can still do it. And, you know, I'm enjoying having expanded into covering Sonic Boom with After the Boom. And Gotham, wow, that has to be the best new drama series I've seen on TV since Knight Rider SG in 2008. Now, there are going to be some, not all, some people that will disagree with that thing and say the original Knight Rider is superior. That's fine, that's your call. I love both generations of Knight Rider for different reasons, but I love them equally. The original Knight Rider got me into the franchise, but I tend to relate to the second generation just a little bit more because it's a little bit more relevant to the times. Hoth and the Trans Am are always going to have a special place at my side in regards to my love of Knight Rider, but I love Mustangs. Which I'm hoping next year lottery win comes my way and I'll be able to park a 2015 Racing Red Mustang in my drive. I can only live in hope. But yeah, with Gotham, I really just love the, you know, telling the story of that city years and years before Batman. I mean, it is following, you know, aspects of Batman's origin with the Wayne murders and seeing Bruce is on this journey, but it's more from Gordon's perspective. It's in a lot of ways like Batman Year One, but Gordon's a lot younger in this. I mean, Gordon at this stage is probably late 20s, early 30s, thereabouts, and Ben McKenzie is just amazing. As is Donald Legge, hope I said that right, as Harvey Bullock. You know, that guy's a phenomenal actor, and probably just as much, if not more so, is Robin Lord Taylor's Penguin. Good Lord! You know, he has to be one of the best, fresh, male acting talent I have seen in a long time. I think ever since going solo and having more time for myself editing wise, I've been able to see a lot more movies and do movie reviews the way I wanted to be able to do them, like I say, with green screen behind me. You know, doing the Hulk versus Hulk review, you know, where I'm essentially arguing with myself, you know, with playing how I was at that time, you know, 10 to 11 years ago. I thought, you know, it's kind of a nice little way to sort of, as Kaiju Noir said, bust out your acting chops a little bit. It's just me being myself in a lot of regards, but just turning the volume up to where it needed to be. And you know, I tore into the less than pleasing Thunderbirds review from a decade ago, the way I kind of wanted to go at it, but just didn't have the means to do it back in the day. And of course, I think, you know, doing this new format now where if I go to the movies, I'll see 2 movies in one day. Those that are Showcase Cinema goers will know of the Insider card that you can use on Mondays and Tuesdays, where, you know, admission, especially for 2D movies, admission is £6 all day. So in America, that's probably like $8 to $9, give or take, whatever the going rate is in regards to conversion rates at the moment. And I just remember one afternoon I thought, I want to go see Dracula Untold, because I'd seen a lot about that movie being done and talked about, and you know, Luke Evans was just amazing as Vlad Tepes and Dracula. And you know, what I've started doing is seeing movies I wouldn't normally see. You know, actually step out of my comfort zone, which is what I should have done, you know, a long time ago. The Equalizer was one of them. Now, I've not seen too many of Denzel Washington's movies, not through a lack of not wanting to, it's just, you know, some of them didn't interest me, but when I heard Chloe Moretz was going to be in that movie, I was like, legendary, superb male acting talent with, you know, establishing amazing female acting talent. It's like, this has got the recipe for a winner, and it was. You know, I know some people are probably thinking, oh, he's going to go on another Chloe Moretz tirade. There's a reason. Now, I know I'm 4 years late to the party on this one, but when I started seeing clips of Let Me In a few months ago, because I had not seen the movie until this year. I knew of it in 2010, but in terms of how I am as a moviegoer, reviewer, and entertainer in general, I was just in a very, very different place in 2010. I'd say from an objective point of view, I'm a better reviewer today because I know what to do, what I can do better, and what I don't need to do with some reviews. And I just wasn't really in that place, you know, to watch that kind of horror movie. But when I actually sat down and watched the story that Matt Reeves directed, who's an awesome director, by the way, you know, seriously, folks, if you ever happen to see one of his movies, now I'm not a huge fan of Cloverfield, but I can understand what he was trying to do with that movie. He was trying to take something that had been done before, but put a fresh twist on and make you think, oh, I didn't know you could do it that way. Okay, you know, that's different for a movie. And his way of, for Let Me In, was to not have it so much being a horror movie, which is what it was as a vampire story, but it was to take two characters that were isolated, alone, and just, you know, in very, very dark places in their respective lives, and have them to come together to have some kind of mutual connection, or, you know, some sort of common ground. And when you look at Cody Smith-McPhee's Owen, you know, who was bullied on a daily basis and didn't have anyone to talk to, not even his own mother seemed to take any interest. And then you've got Chloe Moretz's Abby, who's been a vampire for the better part of 200 years, ever since her, in the story, her uncle turned her at 12 years old. She doesn't play the character like a villain. She plays the character like a victim. You know, she didn't want this. And then you get the two of them sort of come together, and they seem to have some sort of common ground. You know, they seem to share something with each other. And it's also a very beautiful love story, because there is the sense of, you know, they want to be more than friends through it. And, you know, it's very tender, it's very sweet. I mean, it is a bit ghoulish with some of the elements that are in there, but it's one of those movies, it's so underrated that it really should get more praise than it actually got. So if you happen to see Let Me In the store or online, and it's going for a couple of pounds, couple of bucks, pick it up, give it a look at least once, and you won't be disappointed. You know, I noticed that Knight Rider has been getting a lot of attention lately. Although this could be a lot to do with the fact that, sadly, Glenn Larson is no longer with us, and that's a real sad shame for a man that has brought so much joy and so many wonderful memories from Battlestar Galactica to Knight Rider. I mean, Knight Rider is probably the one that most fans talk about due to the longevity that it's had. I'm not saying Battlestar Galactica is in any way less credible, far from it. I've seen a few episodes and it's a good series. But Knight Rider, for whatever reason, it just seems to, you know, have a bigger place in pop culture. Now, keep in perspective, that's just my observation on that. I'm not narking on Battlestar, so please do not take that as offense, because there is none intended. But, yeah, like I say, 2014 has not been a good year for the people, you know. Been a real bad year. So, what do I expect for 2015? Well, for starters, I'd like WWE to get better, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that, because most people have been doing that now for, like, say, the last 6 to 7 years, and I don't think one more year is going to make any difference. Especially if we don't want to see another repeat performance of last year's Royal Rumble. Ugh! Man, that was brutal! Of course, Thunderbirds returns to our TV screens next year for the 50th anniversary of the franchise and a brand new series. So, if you're watching this at the time the new website has gone live, then you're probably already going to know what you're going to be in store for in regards to what the characters look, what we know what the vehicles are going to look like, and they're amazingly faithful to their original 60s counterparts, so that I don't have a problem with. It's just what the story's going to be like. Excuse me, what are the stories going to be like? How respectful is it going to be of the original? Now, they've said they're going to be very respectful to where it's come from, so I can only take their word for it at this stage, but I'm intrigued to see where this is going to go. And it's going to be reduced to a half-hour format as opposed to what it was in the 60s, which is an hour, but the audience is quickly to get jaded and get bored, and considering the average human attention span is 7 seconds, multiply that by up to a near hour's worth, yeah, they might not be willing to pay attention so much. So, I'm going to see what happens with that next year. And of course, Jurassic Park finally comes back to the big screen with the 4th installment. Now, considering by June 12 next year, it will have been 14 years since Jurassic Park 3. It's like, what can they do now that they couldn't already do back then or could do more with? So it'll be interesting to see what kind of fresh take they have on this. I'm still a little bit skeptical on the idea of the hybrid they have, which is supposed to be a mixture of a T-Rex, a Velociraptor, a snake, and a scuttlefish. So this thing can camouflage. So, I'm going to be intrigued to see what they do with this one. That and it's Jurassic Park, so it's going to draw a big name anyway, so nothing to worry about in that regard. One thing I'm actually pleased with myself this year is the kind of transformation I've gone through physically and mentally, because one of the things I started doing back in September was actually drinking green tea much more on a regular basis, where I actually drink it 5 times a day, 5 times a week. Now, I'm going to let you in on something, folks. When they say green tea does wonders for you, they're not kidding. For starters, boosts your metabolism. So I've lost about 1.5 inches in weight so far. I've probably dropped at least 9 to 10 pounds. So, I'm very happy with that. Second of all, it detoxes your system, because we put so much, garbage into our system on a daily basis from those of us that, have soft drinks, potato chips, candy, chocolate and whatnot, and pizza. This stuff actually cleans your system out. It actually gives you more energy, what they call renewed energy, where, let's just say you're 29 years old and you feel kind of a bit ragged energy-wise, you just don't have it. After about 3 to 4 days of having this stuff 5 times a day in your system, you're going to feel like you're at least 10 years younger. I mean, I drink this stuff, like I say, on a regular basis, and I feel like I've got the energy of an 18-year-old. So it does wonders for you. Also, repairs brain cells. And I'm not going to go into too many details of why I don't drink diet drinks anymore, because I don't want to narc and scare people, but let's just say if you knew what I knew, you wouldn't touch that stuff again. I'll leave you with that. I suppose one thing I'm proud of the fact I've done this year is learn to be a little bit more open-minded, try certain new things that I probably wouldn't have done before. One of the things is, on occasion, if you see stuff's about to go down, but it's really nothing to do with you, it's like, if you're seeing 2 people that you know that are going to engage in a volatile situation, I mean, yeah, you could get involved, but then that could just make things messy for you. Sometimes the most civil and safe way to ensure that you don't get the rough end of it is remove yourself from the equation. Now, I know a few people that tend to go off on a pipe bomb or a bit of a rocket situation where how this movie's going to end. It's just like, you know how it's going to end, but do you really want to go through with it knowing the outcome and knowing what it's going to do for you if you intervene? So it's just like, okay, I'm just going to walk away from this one. It's like, it's not worth it. Listening to different music. I mean, recently I listened to this really trippy and chill track called Sweetness Alive by Goldroom. Seriously, folks, give this track a listen to. If you're having a really stressy day and you just want to mellow out and just chill, this is the song to listen to. Now, for obvious reasons, I can't put it in the podcast because the copyright hawks will get their claws out, and then it doesn't end so well for me. But yeah, give that track a listen to, should you happen to hear it, because you'll feel like you're at Nirvana. Take that as you will. Other things I'm looking forward to for next year, just expand into other areas. Now, I'm not going to make any promises to anyone over this, but I am considering bringing Night Watch back, but not on a weekly basis. If I bring this podcast that made a name for me on YT, it will be strictly on a monthly basis. So like I say, I'm not making any promises on that one, but I'm considering on bringing that back. Because I don't know what it is recently, but you know, I'm feeling the love for Knight Rider again. Like I say, it could be just nostalgia and the fact that it's been 5 years since SG was cancelled, which I think was a stupid move on Universal's behalf, but what would I know? I just do good ideas. But yeah, no guarantees, you know, but it might come back. And I'll be covering Thunderbirds next year, as I say, with a yet-to-be-titled series, and I'll continue to cover Sonic Boom with After the Boom, which I've noticed you guys seem to enjoy that, because the numbers on Blip and YT are very favourable, and, you know, Sonic's, you know, becoming a little bit more of a thing to care about once again. I can't speak for, you know, the game Rise of Lyric on the Wii U, because I haven't played it, so therefore it's not my place to judge, but I love the TV series. I think it's possibly the best Sonic series since Sonic Satam, because Underground is guilty pleasure. Let's just leave it at that. I'll be intrigued to see what other movies come out next year. I noticed that Chloe Moretz and Jennifer Lawrence are going to be teaming up again for the first time since the Poker House rules, because Jennifer was quite young, but then so was Chloe for that matter. But to see both of them in a very kind of you know, more mature now, and both these actresses get better with time and performance. And Jennifer is just such a down-to-earth and likable human being, as well as she is as an actress, particularly where at one award she's just photo bombing in the background and just being, you know, just very, you know, carefree and very happy-go-lucky. It's like, you know, we need more people like that. And as I said, with Chloe, I don't think there's anything bad I can say about that girl. Yeah, I will agree she does come across as being rather educated with the way, you know, her body language is, and just the way that she comes across and answers questions. But you can still tell that she's a very youthful soul. You know, she just wants to have a good time and just have, you know, have a laugh outside of what she does as a profession. But in terms of acting, I think she's a once-in-a-generation performer. I haven't seen acting talent like hers in good Lord knows how long. I put her in the same acting class of like that of Michael Caine, Robert Downey Jr., Charles Dance, and Julianne Moore. You know, she's in a count on one hand elite group. 2015 should be a good year, and keep in mind, folks, next year we finally catch up with the timeline for Back to the Future Part 2, and we actually have hoverboards and flying cars now. Whoa. Not like the hoverboards that they suggested in Part 2 along with the flying cars, but we still have hoverboards. You know, we did it with a year to spare. And of course, like I say, next year will also be Back to the Future Part 1's 30th anniversary. That is going to be huge. It looks like 2015 is going to be that year that we've all been waiting for, because this year has just been a disappointment, if I'm being honest, in general. WWE disappointment this year. 2014 has been a very sad year for the people. You know, a lot of good people are gone, and I'm very, very sad that, you know, but nothing we can do about it, can only move on. But as for this Christmas this year, like every year, I'm going to spend it with family, chill, be mellow, and just enjoy a time where we all get together and just be that little bit more civil to each other and just say, hey, you know what? It's Christmas. Let's put our differences aside. You know? So, after a long-winded Christmas message, I know I tend to go on, guys, and that's my bad. That's my hang-up. I gotta deal with that. But if you're watching this speech on December 24, just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and let's have a good 2015, because we sure heck deserve it. Merry Christmas, folks. Good night from the night.